Hey, what's going on, everybody? This video, I am going to review this. This is my Ruger AR556, and just want to talk about a couple things, my experience with it, and what I recommend it or not. But so to start off, I picked this up from a local FFL, Zeller's Armory. And I think I picked this up for about 550, somewhere around there. I want to say this was last year, July, August time frame, and I saw it sitting on a rack. I was looking for something with a 16-inch barrel, and I had knew a little bit about the Ruger ARs, not a whole lot, but I knew that they were 5R rifled and they shot pretty well. So I said, what the hell, for 550, I might as well pick it up, right? So upon purchasing it, come back home, I ended up having to run out. I ran up to Gander Outdoors, and on the shelf, I see this rail. Now, this is an AIM Sport 15-inch key mod rail. I think it was on clearance for $30, $35, something around there. And then I had a membership, so I got a little bit off of that. But I picked it up, come home. Mind you, I haven't even cleaned it or anything. I said, you know what? I'm going to break it down, put this rail on, and see where that takes me. So that's what I did. Upon breaking this stuff down, I found a couple things that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. For one, the muzzle brake wasn't even on that tight. Now these, because of the way they are, you see they have the ports all the way around. It's similar to A2 flash hider, or birdcage, except that the bottom isn't closed off. So you don't have to worry about timing it. So that was the first thing that kind of was like, what the hell? It's simple. You just snug it up and then you're done. But it wasn't. I think I broke it loose by hand. And not with any tools, just with my hands. I can't remember if the original rail had was Loctite or anything like that, but what I did remember is that after I did that, I went ahead to take off the gas block here, and they were barely snugged down, and there was no compound on it or anything to retain them. So that frustrated me. And then to top it all off, the barrel nut was barely snugged up, barely. And I was just holding the rifle in one hand and then broke the barrel nut loose. So those things right there kind of frustrated me. So then I go ahead, being the anal type of person that I am, I went through the rifle with a fine tooth comb, and everything else seemed to be fine. But those things kind of frustrated me, and those being some of the most important aspects of a firearm, especially where if things are out of whack, you can cause a really bad malfunction. Maybe not so much with the gas block, but the flash hider comes loose and then you get a strike, that can cause an issue. And then having the barrel nut come loose, and now the barrel moves and it's out of spec. That's not good. So I went ahead and I emailed Ruger. They got back to me pretty quickly, and they seemed pretty genuine. At least the person that I was talking to, that they were pretty upset about something like that leaving their factory. Now I understand that we're only human, and they're built by humans, and something like this can happen. And I don't want this to reflect on all of Ruger's all of Ruger's things that they do, all of their products. But I always like to give the company an opportunity to correct it if they can. And and they were very prompt. They said, listen, if you want, send it back. We'll take care of it and ship it back out to you. No money will come out of your pocket. And that's what I like. That's what I like to hear. Um, so I responded and said, look, I took care of all the issues. I torqued everything down, Loctited everything, whole 9 yards. Not a big problem. I just wanted to bring it to your attention so that you can follow up on it and make sure that it doesn't happen again, because somebody who isn't like me, that's going to take the time to go through a rifle, or any one of your products, may run this thing and then something happens and they can get severely hurt. So um, what they said was, that's fine, that I went through it and that I did whatever I had to do to correct the issues, that to keep them updated. If there was any issues after that, immediately contact them and they will rectify the issue. So that was good to see. I don't know much about Ruger's customer service. This is my first run-in with dealing with the customer service, but it seemed fine to me, and I believe they stepped up, did the right thing, and they were willing to do the right thing. So ARs are ARs. They're not anything crazy that you have to do a bunch of stuff to, or you got to be very specific with. And with my background being a diesel mechanic and building engines and so on, this was not a big deal. So where did I go from there? So I originally had a Hilux 1-4 low variable powered optic, and it was okay, did the job, glass was good, but I wasn't a big fan of the reticle, and it was a green reticle, and at first I was pretty cool with it, but then in daylight you couldn't see it at all. It was a second focal plane, so it wasn't like it shrunk down, and the reticle was more for precision shooting if you wanted to do that with that reticle, and maybe if you were running it with canted irons and using it like a DMR roll, so to speak, I could see it working out, but it just wasn't what I wanted. So fast forward a little bit, I ended up picking up this ACSS 1-6 first focal plane with the Raptor reticle. Love this thing. I did go over this in one of our previous videos, and I highly recommend these optics, and especially after watching what was it, Grantham, when he redid his take on this, because Primary Arms kind of stepped up and said, hey, well, if you want to see if it's duty ready, here we go, I'll send you some ammo, and then go ahead. And he did it, and it held up just fine. So I highly recommend these. When you turn them down on one power, they're pretty much like a circle, donut of death. Can be used very quickly, especially if you train with them. And then, zooming in and then using that BDC reticle with the chevron. I think that's really cool, intuitive, and so I think it's one of the best reticles out there. The only one that, in my opinion, in this type of capacity where you use it as a DMR setup, or SPR setup, would be the Raptor M2 with the ranging reticle, ranging built right into the horseshoe. I think that's perfect. So I did make a few changes, and I want to show you exactly what this rifle came with before I talk about the changes I made. Came with this right here, which is basically their version of a basic M4 stock. And the one thing I don't like about the Ruger is that it's got their branding everywhere, like on every piece of furniture, the lower, upper, all that stuff. So you'll see it's got branding right there. Now it came with I want to say it's a 9 or 10-inch handguard. I have that. don't have it out here, but I think it's like a 10-inch handguard. It's got a steel barrel nut. I didn't like the aesthetics of it. I mean, it will work fine. If I had to run the rifle exactly the way it was, I'd be fine. No problem. But I didn't like the aesthetics, and then seeing this on the shelf for $35, it was a no-brainer for me to grab that and throw it on. So that's what it'll look like. You know, you have this, and then do this so you can get a good look. So, come with this M4 style collapsible buttstock, and then the shorter handguard. So, take it to the range. I go to run it at the range, and immediately, the trigger just was absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. And I came back from the range, went ahead, put my trigger scale on it, and it was coming out about 9 to 10 pounds. It was very consistent, very gritty, very stagey, and heavy as hell. And I was like, nope, this has to go. Especially with being an optic that you can reach out and touch stuff. I wanted to have a trigger that would be usable in a sense. So I took the original trigger pack out, or trigger components. I polished everything. I tried to mess with the spring, and I got it down to about 5 pounds. But it just didn't feel right, the trigger. So I screw it. I had a couple extra bucks left over that I can play with, so I went out to my buddy's shop. If you're ever in the Poconos or whatever, Pocono Mountain Firearm, my buddy Mike owns his shop. Great place, great shop. Work with you, great people. Good place. But anyway, I went down there and I picked up a POF 3.5 pound first single stage trigger, and I have this on another rifle too. I have that on my little DMR build, and I love these triggers. They're flat faced. You can see here, little flat face trigger, and made a world of difference. Real quick, you guys already seen it, but this is that Veltor stock. I had this laying around from an old rifle when I originally got my my LWRC. I was living in New Jersey at the time, and now that I think about it, I think the guys are bullshitting me. But what they said was, it came with the B5 stock on it, and they said that with that stock they couldn't pin it. Now, New Jersey, if you don't know, muzzle brakes or muzzle devices obviously have to be pinned and welded. If it's under 14 inches, that's federal, but or under 16 inches, that's federal. But with the stock collapsible stocks have to be pinned in place. So I think that what they did was they took because they came with the Surefire 3-prong muzzle brake and or flash hider, and in New Jersey you can't have flash hiders because the state is retarded, and somehow a flash hider makes the gun much more deadly. Common sense politicians lack, so they replaced it with a Surefire comp, and then they put this Veltor stock on it. I like the Veltor stock, but I wanted that B5, so when I moved to PA, I put that B5 stock on, and I had the Veltor sitting around, so I went ahead and threw the Veltor on here, and I feel like it fits well, it balances nicely, and I love it. So I go ahead, fast forwarding, bring it to the range, and I run a ton of different ammo through it, I had laying around, and some that I had ordered for something else that I was testing, and it shot fine. And here's a weird thing, because This has a 1 in 8 twist. It will shoot basically everything you need to shoot pretty damn good. On average, I was 5 shot groups about about 1.2 MOA. Um, there were some stuff that just shot like crap, and that's typical, especially your American Eagle, uh, 223 or 556 loadings. I don't ever have a gun that shoots them good at all. Anything less than 2 inches on that, there's probably something wrong with the gun because the ammo just doesn't shoot that well. Um, but Fiocchi 55 grain stuff is shot under 1.5 inches. Freedom Munitions Reman 55 grain. They're 193 loading, 1 inch all day long with that, which is phenomenal considering that stuff is so damn cheap, and it's Reman, so it's even cheaper for it to shoot it like that. And I've never had a problem with Freedom Munitions ammunition, any of their stuff that I've ever shot. And up until they were filing for bankruptcy, that is basically all I used. So it shot that good. I had some other loads. I had some Gorilla 69 grain stuff, Sierra Match King, 77 grain Sierra Match King, Sig Sauer 77 grain OTM. All that stuff is shot great, especially the heavier loads. I want to say like the 69 grade. 69 grain. What was the other one I had? Australian Outback. 69 grain Sierra Match Kings. It shot about 3/4 MOA with that stuff, so that was good. But yeah, on average with the 55 grain stuff, it'll shoot about 1.2 MOA, except for really crappy stuff, which is beautiful. To have a rifle that costs $550, and they're running about the same price, maybe $50 more, even with this scare that's going on, everybody buying up everything. They haven't price gouged those rifles, so they're still out there, and I've seen some deals where they're running $550. So the rifle can shoot. Now I'm not sure what their coating is. I don't believe that this is nitrided, and the same thing goes for the bolt. And let me see if I can break this down for you. Oh. Now on the bolt, there's no on the bolt carry. I don't see anything that shows a markings for HP or magnetic particle inspected. But I have no reason to believe that this isn't that this is something we should be concerned with. I know guys that have run these in classes and never had a problem with them. Let's see. Take this damn cam pin out here. See. Now this is due for cleaning. But yeah, I got nothing here on the bolt itself. But that's fine. Like I said, I've had no problem. I haven't seen any problems with issues with these, and I see no reason to be concerned. If it was a lesser known company, maybe so. But considering that it's Ruger and their name is out there, I think it's fine. So, moving on to the rest of the rifle. I've had this rifle completely apart down to, and that's how this ended up being painted. And it's kind of a funny story because my wife was ready to kill me. I went ahead. I wanted an AR and FDE. I didn't have anything that I could. I didn't have any paint and FDE, but I had Krylon khaki paint. I think that's what it was, and it was like, I don't know, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. My wife wasn't here. The kids weren't here. They were back in New Jersey visiting family. And I couldn't go because I had work that weekend. So what I did was I I strung 550 cord across my living room, hung this up, laid down a big blanket, opened every window, and I sprayed it in my living room. If I could find the pictures and find a way to because I'm still trying to figure out video editing. I haven't had a whole lot of time to really dig into that because I haven't been home, and in internet where I was at is damn near non-existent. So I'm going to see what I can do about tying in pictures, showing it strung up. Basically what I did about 4 coats of the Krylon. I never even cleared it, but I did 4 coats, and then I hung it in my oven at 200 degrees for 2 hours and baked it so that it cured. Because if you don't, it takes about, I want to say 5 or 6 days to fully cure. So, but other than some minor stuff, it's held up absolutely fine. And I really didn't want to spend a lot of money to have it done up in Duracoat. I may do one later in the future, but anyway. So yeah, it's run fine. It's performed flawlessly. I've had no stoppages whatsoever, not even ammo related. I did have to make a couple corrections on this, but outside of those corrections, there's nothing that I feel should be something to be concerned with. The only thing I would suggest is if you do purchase one of these, make sure you go over it with a fine-tooth comb and make the necessary corrections if that happens. I may have had one of those Friday afternoon builds, Monday morning builds where their heads weren't in the game and they just wanted to either get out of there or they didn't want to be there. One of the two. But it's performed flawlessly. These AIM Sport handguards I think are great, man, especially for the money. They've worked great. I got them on 2 rifles now, and I've never had a problem with any of them. Charging handle is mil-spec charging handle. But again, with the markings, you have that Ruger marking here. You got a Ruger marking branded right on top of the rail. Ruger right on the grip. Speaking of the grip, this is one thing that I don't really like a whole lot. It's similar to an A2 grip, but their take on an A2 grip, but it's very slick. It's not a whole lot of grip to it. You have some gripping here on the back here, but they're just linear scallops, so they follow the curves of the grip. And then you have a little bit of gripping right here. I don't know if you can see that, but they're just like these really shallow ribs that don't really feel like a whole lot. So when your hands, like say if you're running around, your hands are really sweaty, you don't really have a whole lot of grip. And when your hands are dry, you don't have a whole lot of grip. So I would recommend changing that out if that is an issue for you. For me, it is. But I just haven't gotten to it. I might just throw on a Magpul grip and be done with it. Everything's good. The one thing I didn't like is that it came with it. Now this is their trigger thing here. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank, but it's theirs. It's not like the Magpul. It's just kind of. It almost looks like the closed ear Anderson or Arrow precision lowers. They have the closed ear, very similar, but you got plenty of room to get it gloved fingers in there with no problem. But yeah, everything's been good. The trigger's good. Let me put this back in here. But this one, I don't think it's like, what's that other company that I had? CMMG with their receiver extension, the buffer tube. It's got ribs on the inside of it, and when you try to run it, it's really loud. almost sounds like you're dragging the spring across a cheese grater, and I can't stand it. I mean, I have no doubts that it's a good tube and it's gonna help hold up and be fine. But as far as the that's concerned with this, that noise is kind of annoying. You don't really notice it so much when you're shooting, especially when you have ear pro on, but when you're charging the handle, it's annoying. There we go. I don't know why the hell they're freaking fighting me. But yeah, so I'll show you in a second once I get this together. It's after midnight. It's probably why my ass needs to go to sleep. But oh yeah, so I do recommend this. I think it's a great buy, great find, especially if you can find them on sale. I wouldn't pay anything more than like $600 for it, to be honest. If you're gonna go that route, you could probably get PSA, and it'll be fine. But this damn pin giving me a problem again. Yeah, this is the one issue I had with this before. This pin doesn't want to. This retainer pin here or clip for the firing pin is kind of a pain in the ass. I don't know why, but it wants to spread. Alright, screw it. I'll deal with this later. Video's probably long enough as it is. But anyway, yeah, I do recommend it. But there are some things that I'll recommend that you change. Well, first of all, I recommend that you go over it, make sure that it's good to go, and everything is torqued up and there's Loctite where Loctite's supposed to be. I highly recommend that you replace that trigger. That trigger is just absolutely just garbage. The fact that Ruger even puts that in their rifle just puts a sour taste in my mouth. It's just horrible. But yeah, I would change those two things, or do those two things. Change the trigger, and then the rest is all. It's all preference, man. Everything, it seems to be quality made. I have no issues with anything that's in this rifle, other than the trigger. I think the trigger is just horrible. But yeah, there's different variants. You have ones with the traditional front sight post. Yeah, free floated ones. You have their, I believe it's called the MPR, which is like their. I think that was maybe an 18-inch, or it's a 16-inch. But it was a couple variations to their rifles. But yeah, everything I think has been pretty well made. I think it runs pretty well. It's definitely accurate. At least mine has been. Now everything that I experience is just a sample size of one. I don't have a whole lot of money, so I can't be buying up rifles and multiples of each rifle to test. And even if I did, I wouldn't, because it's just pointless. Maybe one day, if I ever have companies reach out, say they want me to take a look at the stuff, that'd be awesome. But I'm not really. That's not really the goal. The goal is just to share my experiences, share everything that I have as far as firearms, and maybe some of my friends' firearms that I don't have, that I'd like to check out and review, and it'd be pretty cool to go over. So, yeah, let me know what you think. Sorry about that pause where I was dicking around with the damn bolt and whatnot, but yeah, let me know what you think. And yeah, if you have one of these, leave a comment down in the comment section. Let me know what you think of the one you had, any issues you may have had, if it's ran flawlessly. And yeah, that should be it, man. Hope you enjoyed it. And any suggestions you might have to help make these videos better, you're more than welcome to leave them down in the comment below. If you have any questions, comments, comment below. I'll respond. Those that have reached out to me or commented, I always try to respond. But yeah, until the next video, see you later.